She's been waiting to die for 2 years, 7 months, and 3 days. Every night, Nora pours drinks for people who don't know she's already a corpse. Just one that hasn't stopped breathing yet. The guilt of a child's death has hollowed her out from the inside, leaving nothing but a shell going through motions, waiting for the punishment she knows she deserves. Then he walks into her bar, beautiful and terrifying, with eyes that war between silver and red, between angel and demon, between mercy and destruction. Zadkiel is a Nephilim, half celestial, half infernal, and he's been sent to make her suffer before he kills her. But when he marks her, when the bond forms between them, something goes catastrophically wrong. Now he feels every moment of her guilt. She feels every second of his 200-year-old loneliness, and they're both drowning together. The contract is simple. Break her mind, destroy what's left of her sanity, then end her life. But how do you torture someone who's already shattered? How do you break someone who's been begging for death since the moment a 7-year-old girl's blood soaked through her hands? And what happens when the monster sent to destroy you starts to understand your pain so intimately that destroying you means destroying himself? They have 30 days before innocent people start dying. 30 days to figure out if 2 broken souls bound by tragedy can become something other than each other's executioner. 30 days before the grieving mother who ordered the hit discovers that her hired killer has committed the ultimate betrayal. He's falling for the woman he's supposed to destroy, and she's starting to feel alive for the first time in years, with the creature designed to end her. The glass shattered against the wall 3 inches from my head. I didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Just kept wiping down the bar with the same methodical circles I'd been making for the past hour, watching whiskey drip down the peeling wallpaper like amber tears. "You deaf bitch!" The drunk's voice cracked with rage, but all I heard was white noise, static. The same frequency that had filled my ears for 947 days. Since the night I watched a 7-year-old girl's eyes go empty while I pressed my hands against the hole in her chest, feeling her heartbeat slow. Stop. Emma Rodriguez. Brown eyes. Pink sneakers with unicorns on them. Dead because I thought I was smart enough to handle a kidnapping. Case alone. Nora. My boss Jerry's voice cut through the static. Take your break. I set down the rag, walked past the drunk without looking at him, past the pool table where regulars pretended not to notice the walking corpse that poured their drinks every night. The back alley smelled like piss and rotting produce. I lit a cigarette with shaking hands. The tip glowed red in the dark. Red like the blood that had soaked through my shirt that night. So much blood from such a small body. The air changed. I don't know how else to describe it. 1 second I was alone with my ghosts. The next, the temperature dropped 20 degrees, and every hair on my body stood straight up. The cigarette fell from my fingers. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Something was watching me from the shadows at the end of the alley, and every instinct I'd buried under alcohol and self-loathing screamed that I should run. I didn't run. What was the point? He stepped into the light from the single flickering bulb. Above the door, and my brain tried to reject what my eyes were seeing. Half his face was beautiful. Painfully, impossibly beautiful. Like something carved from marble by hands that understood perfection. Strong jaw, high cheekbone, full lips. The other half looked like a monochrome photograph of decay. Not rotting exactly. More like someone had traced every vein beneath the skin with black ink, creating a spider-webbed map of darkness that pulsed with its own rhythm. But it was his eyes that made my knees weak. The left one was silver, pure liquid silver that seemed to glow with its own light, bright and cold and merciless as a blade. The right was dark red, so dark it was almost black, burning with heat I could feel from 15 feet away. And as I watched, frozen, the colors bled into each other, fighting for dominance. Silver pushing into red, red swallowing silver. A war playing out in real time across his irises. Nora Chen. His voice was velvet dragged across broken glass. "I've been looking for you." I should have been terrified. Should have screamed, run, fought. Instead, I felt something close to relief. After 947 days of waiting for punishment that never came, here it finally was. Death wearing a beautiful, terrible face. Good. My voice came out steady. "I'm tired of waiting." Something flickered across his face. Surprise? The silver in his left eye blazed brighter, pushing back the red. He took a step closer, then another. The shadows moved with him. Wrong, independent, slithering across the ground like living things. The temperature kept dropping. I could see my breath now. "You don't know what I am." It wasn't a question. "Don't care." I met his gaze, held it. "You're here to kill me. Do it." He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell him now. Ozone and smoke and something sweet like myrrh. His head tilted, studying me with those warring eyes, and I felt something brush against my mind. Not a touch. More like a presence, searching, probing. It should have felt invasive. It felt inevitable. "You want to die." His voice held something like wonder. "You've wanted it for a long time. 2 years, 7 months, 3 days. The numbers came out automatic. That's how long she's been dead. The little girl I killed. You didn't kill her." The correction was sharp. The kidnapper's bullet killed her. I led him right to her. The words tasted like ash. Thought I was so damn smart. Figured out where he was keeping her. Went in alone instead of calling the police because I wanted to be the hero. She died screaming my name while I tried to hold her insides in. I waited for judgment. For condemnation. Instead, he moved closer still. And this time when his presence brushed my mind, it pushed deeper. I gasped. It felt like ice water flooding my veins. Like someone had reached inside my skull and wrapped cold fingers around my memories. I saw Emma's face. Felt the exact texture of her pink. Unicorn sneaker when I'd tripped over it in the dark warehouse. Heard the kidnapper's gun go off, impossibly loud in that concrete space. And then I felt something else. Underneath my memory, wrapped around it like a parasite. Wrongness. The kidnapper's face shifting, blurring at the edges. His eyes flashing yellow for just a frame. The wound in Emma's chest too big for the gun he'd carried. Too precise. "What?" I choked on the word. He pulled back. I stumbled, catching myself against the brick wall, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. His eyes had stopped fighting. Both were silver now, bright and piercing, fixed on my face with an intensity that felt like being flayed. "The child you tried to save wasn't human." Each word fell like a stone. Neither was her killer. He was a mid-level demon. She was a Cambion. Half human, half demon. When she died, she lost control of her power. The blast was strong enough to kill everyone in a 3-block radius. He paused. "You absorbed it." I couldn't process the words. Demon. Cambion. Power. They didn't fit in my reality, in the world of whiskey-stained bars and cigarette smoke and guilt that never faded. That's insane. But my voice shook, because somewhere deep in the part of me I'd tried to drown, something recognized truth. "You've been seeing things since that night." He stepped closer again. I had nowhere to go, back pressed against cold brick. Shadows that move wrong. People whose faces blur when you look too long. Spaces that feel empty even when they're full. His hand lifted, pale fingers stopping an inch from my cheek. "You thought you were going insane. You were waking up." "No." The word came out broken. "No. She was just a little girl. She had unicorns on her shoes. She had power she couldn't control." His voice was almost gentle now. Almost. When her mother found out she was dead, she made a contract. Blood for blood. Pain for the one who caused her child's death. His hand dropped. "I'm here to collect." The words took a moment to land. When they did, I laughed. It came out jagged, wrong, but I couldn't stop. You're here to kill me for saving her? For trying? I'm here to make you suffer first. His eyes shifted, red bleeding back into the silver, consuming it. Then kill you. Those were the terms. And there it was. The punishment I'd been waiting for. Gift wrapped in an impossible face and delivered by something that couldn't exist. I should have felt fear. Should have begged. Instead, I felt my mouth curve into something that might have been a smile 947 days ago. Then do it. I spread my arms. Make me suffer. I've been doing it myself for long enough. Maybe you'll be better at it. His eyes flashed, both colors at war again. And for a moment, just a moment, I saw something that looked like pain cross his face. Then his hand shot out faster than I could track, and his fingers closed around my wrist. Fire, ice, something. Between and beyond both exploded through my veins. I screamed. Couldn't help it. It felt like every nerve ending in my body had been dipped in acid and lightning simultaneously, like my blood had turned to molten glass. I fell to my knees. He came down with me, his hand still locked around my wrist, and his other hand caught my face, forcing me to look at him. What did you... I couldn't get the words out. The pain was everywhere. Everything. His eyes were wide, both fully silver now, bright, with something that looked almost like horror. No, this shouldn't... You're not... The pain intensified. I felt something inside me crack open, and suddenly I wasn't just feeling my own agony. I was feeling his. Shock, confusion. And underneath, buried so deep I shouldn't have been able to reach it, a grief so vast it made my guilt look like a paper cut. "What did you do to me?" I whispered. He released my wrist like it burned him, stumbled back. But the pain didn't stop. Neither did the connection. I could still feel him, his presence in my mind, permanent now, a weight I'd carry forever. A bond. His voice was hollow. "I've marked you, claimed you." He looked at his hand like it had betrayed him. "It should have been simple. Touch you. Plant the seed of fear. Build slowly until your mind breaks." His eyes met mine. "But you're already broken. And now I feel it. All of it. Every moment of guilt, every nightmare, every time you've wished you'd died instead." I pushed myself up. My legs shook. "Good. Feel it. Live in it. Maybe it'll kill you faster than whatever that blast did to me. You don't understand." He was on his feet now too, backing away. "A bond can't be undone. I'm going to feel everything you feel until one of us dies." His hands clenched into fists. "And my contract says I can't kill you quickly. Can't give you mercy. I have to make you suffer first. For months. Maybe years. And now you'll suffer with me." I finished. The irony was almost beautiful. "Sounds fair." He stared at me. The shadows around him writhed, agitated. His eyes shifted again. Silver, red, silver, like his mind was tearing itself apart. Finally, he spoke, and his voice held something that might have been the first honest emotion he'd shown. "You're not afraid of me. I'm not afraid of anything anymore." I lit another cigarette with shaking hands. The pain from the bond had settled into a dull ache, persistent, but bearable. "Do your worst. Break me. Torture me. But know that you're going to feel every second of it too." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he smiled, and it was the most terrible thing I'd ever seen. Both beautiful and horrifying, lips curving over teeth that were just slightly too sharp. "I'm Zadkiel," he said, "and I'm going to destroy what's left of you." "Nora," I replied, "and I'm already destroyed. Try to keep up." He vanished. Didn't walk away. Just ceased to be there, like someone had cut him from reality. But I could still feel him. A presence in the back of my mind, cold and burning simultaneously, watching me through eyes that weren't mine. I finished my cigarette, dropped it, ground it out under my heel, walked back inside where Jerry was dealing with the drunk who'd thrown the glass, back to the bar, back to the methodical circles of wiping down wood that would never really be clean. 948 days since Emma died, and now I had a monster in my head who wanted me to suffer. I almost felt something like anticipation. At least suffering meant I was still alive enough to feel something other than guilt. He was in my apartment when I got home at 4 a.m. I knew before I opened the door. Could feel him through the bond, like a splinter under my skin. Cold pressure building behind my eyes. The lock clicked. I pushed inside. He stood by my window, backlit by the neon sign from the liquor store across the street, and the red light made the dark veins on his face look like they were bleeding. Breaking and entering. I dropped my keys on the counter. Didn't look at him. That part of the torture? Your building has no wards, no protection sigils, nothing. His voice held something close to disbelief. After what happened, after you absorbed that blast, you should be drawing every predator in the city. Maybe I want them to come. I kicked off my shoes. My feet ached. Everything ached. The bond hummed between us, a live wire of sensation that made my teeth hurt. Maybe I'm tired of waiting. I felt his anger spike through the connection before he moved. 1 second he was across the room. The next he had me pinned against the wall, forearm across my collarbone, his face inches from mine. His eyes were fully red now, burning. The temperature spiked. I could smell smoke. You don't get to choose death. His breath was hot against my skin. That's not how this works. You suffer until the contract is satisfied, until her mother decides you've paid enough. Could be years. His grip tightened. Not enough to hurt, just enough to remind me he could. And every moment I feel what you feel. Your guilt, your emptiness, your pathetic desire to stop existing. I met his gaze, didn't fight. Then kill me, break the contract, be done with it. I can't. The words came out strangled. Breaking a blood contract means my death, slow, painful, the kind that takes decades. His eyes searched mine. And even if I could, even if I wanted to end this, there's 23 people in this bar tonight. Innocents. Her mother swore she'd slaughter them all if I don't deliver. 23. The number hit different than I expected. Faces flashed through my mind. Jerry with his bad knee and worse jokes. Rita, who always left $10 tips even though she could barely afford dinner. Marcus, who came in every Thursday to drink away the anniversary of his wife's death. Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel register my thoughts, felt his surprise. You care about them. He said it like an accusation. After 2 years of pretending you're already dead, you still care. Caring doesn't mean I want to keep living. I pushed against his arm. He let me. Stepped back. The loss of his heat felt like falling into cold water. It just means I don't want to drag anyone else down with me. He laughed. It was an ugly sound, sharp and bitter. Noble. Emma's mother will love that. The woman who let her daughter die has morals about collateral damage. The name punched through my chest. I turned away, moved to the kitchenette that barely qualified as a kitchen, pulled out the cheap whiskey I kept under the sink, poured 2 fingers, drank it. It burned, but not as much as the bond, not as much as the memory of pink unicorn sneakers soaked in blood. Tell me about her. My voice came out rougher than I intended. Emma, not the demon half, the girl. Silence stretched. Through the bond, I felt his confusion. Then something else. Reluctance, like he didn't want to. Humanize her. Didn't want to make this harder than it already was. She liked strawberry ice cream. His voice was quiet. Her mother told me. She'd eat it too fast and get brain freeze and laugh about it. She was learning piano. Hated practicing but loved performing. Would play the same song 17 times in a row until she got it perfect. 17. A prime number. The kind of detail that made her real. I poured another drink. Didn't consume it. Just stared at the amber liquid. Her mother is Lilith. He continued. Not the Lilith, but old enough. Powerful enough. She loved her daughter more than anything. Gave up immortality to have her. Became partly human so she could carry a human child. And that child died because I was arrogant. I finished. Because I thought I knew better. Because I wanted to be the hero. The glass trembled in my hand. I know what I did. Do you? He was behind me now. I could feel him through the bond. A presence that made my spine tingle. Do you know that Emma's father was human? That she was more human than demon? That she went to regular school? Had regular friends? Wanted to be a veterinarian? His voice dropped. That she was terrified when the kidnapper took her? That she called for her mother for 3 days straight before you found her? I set down the glass before I shattered it. My hands were shaking. Stop. That's the point. His breath stirred my hair. I'm supposed to make you relive it. Every detail. Every moment. Until you break. A pause. But I feel it breaking you. Through the bond. Your guilt shredding you from the inside. And it's shredding me too. I turned. He was closer than I expected. Close enough that I could see the silver bleeding back into his red eye, fighting for control. Close enough that I could see the fine tremor in his hands. Then we're both screwed. My voice was steady. Because I've been breaking for 948 days, and I still haven't hit bottom. So, good luck keeping up. His jaw clenched. The veins on the dark side of his face pulsed, black threading deeper into his skin. You don't understand what I am, what I can do. I'm half angel, half demon. The worst of both. I've made grown men weep blood, driven women to claw their own eyes out. I've torn apart minds stronger than yours. Then do it. I stepped closer, into his space, into the heat and cold that radiated from him in waves. Tear me apart. See what you find. Spoiler alert, it's already ruins. For a moment, neither of us moved. The bond thrummed between us, alive with emotion I couldn't name. His anger, my exhaustion, something else underneath. Something almost like recognition, like two broken things acknowledging each other's sharp edges. Then he grabbed my wrist again. Not like before, gentler. But I still felt the power surge through the contact, felt him pushing into my mind, past my defenses that barely existed. Images flooded me, not my memories. His, a woman, with eyes like dying stars, holding a child with one perfect face and one mapped in darkness. Her horror, her rejection. The child, him, reaching for her, her backing away. A battlefield covered in bodies, Nephilim bodies, hybrids like him, slaughtered by celestial blades. Him standing among them, silver tears on one cheek, blood on the other, and both sides of him screaming. A mirror. Him staring at his reflection, watching his eyes war with each other, watching the darkness spread further across. His face every year. Alone. Always alone. And underneath it all, a question that had no answer. What am I? I gasped. He released me. We both stumbled back. You showed me that. My voice shook. Why? I didn't. His eyes were wide, both silver again, bright with something that looked like fear. The bond. It's not supposed to work like that. You shouldn't be able to see my memories. You're human. You said I absorbed Emma's power. I pressed my hand against my chest, feeling my heart hammer. Maybe that changed things. That's not how it works. But he sounded uncertain. Through the bond, I felt his fear spike. If you can access my memories, if the bond is that strong. He didn't finish. Didn't have to. I understood. If I could see into him, maybe he could control me more easily. Or maybe it meant something worse. Something neither of us wanted to consider. Your mother rejected you. The words came out before I could stop them. Because of what you are. His face went blank. Carefully blank. That's none of your concern. We're bonded now. Everything about you is my concern. I moved to the couch, collapsed onto it. The exhaustion was catching up, dragging at my bones. You feel my guilt. I feel your loneliness. Fair trade. There's nothing fair about this. He remained standing. Tense. You're my target. My contract. I'm supposed to destroy you, not... He cut himself off. Not empathize? I supplied. Not see me as human? I closed my eyes. Too late. The bond. Already did that. And you know what the worst part is? Silence. I'm glad. The confession tasted like blood. I'm glad someone finally understands what it feels like to carry this, even if that someone is a monster sent to kill me. Through the bond, I felt his reaction. Shock. Anger. And buried beneath both, something that felt dangerously close to relief. I'm not here to understand you. His voice was cold. Forcibly cold. I'm here to break you. Then why are you still talking? I opened. My eyes met his gaze. Why not just start? Torture me, drive me insane. That's the contract, right? He stared at me. The neon light from the window painted half his face red, half in shadow. And for a moment he looked less like a being of supernatural power, and more like what he was. Something caught between two natures, belonging to neither. Because he moved to the window, looked out at the empty street. Because I spent 3 weeks watching you before tonight, followed you, learned your patterns, your routine. And you know what I saw? Someone waiting to die? Someone already dead. He turned back. You go through the motions, pour drinks, smoke cigarettes, come home, sleep, wake up, repeat. You don't eat unless your body forces you. Don't talk unless someone talks first. Don't feel anything except guilt. His hands clenched. Torturing you would be redundant. You've already done my job for me. The truth of it settled between us, heavy and undeniable. So what now? I asked. Now I figure out how to complete a contract that requires me to break something already shattered. He moved toward the door. And you survive another day carrying weight that should have killed you years ago. He opened the door, paused. The bond means I'll be around, watching, waiting, and feeling every moment of your misery. His eyes met mine one last time. Try not to make it worse than it already is. Then he was gone. But unlike before, I could still feel him. Not just the bond. His presence lingering in my space. His memories tangled with mine, and the terrible understanding that we were trapped together now. Predator and prey, bound by accident and drowning in each other's pain. I lay back on the couch, stared at the ceiling with its water stains shaped like screaming faces. Somewhere in the city, Emma's mother waited for news of my suffering. Somewhere in my mind, a Nephilim with warring eyes carried my guilt alongside his own loneliness. 948. Days since Emma died, and now I had a countdown I couldn't see, leading to an end I couldn't escape. The bond pulsed once, twice, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, knowing his nightmares would bleed into mine. The nightmare started on the third night. Not mine. His. I woke at 2:17 in the morning with someone else's screams in my throat. Someone else's terror flooding my veins like ice water. The bond flared white-hot in my chest. And suddenly, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was in his memory, living it like it was happening now. A cathedral. Massive. Ornate. Light streaming through stained glass, painting the marble floor in jeweled colors. And blood. So much blood it looked black in the filtered sunlight. Bodies everywhere. Nephilim. I knew without knowing how I knew. Some looked almost human. Others had wings, broken, torn, dragging on the ground. A girl no older than 16 lay crumpled against a pillar, eyes open and empty. Dark veins like his spreading across her face in a pattern that would never finish. And standing in the center of it all, a figure made of light so bright it hurt to look at. An angel, the real kind. The kind that had nothing to do with harps and halos and everything to do with righteous fury and absolute judgment. Abominations. The angel's voice was beautiful and terrible. You should never have existed. Young Zadkiel, maybe 12, maybe ageless, impossible to tell, stood frozen among the corpses. His eyes weren't warring yet. Both were silver, wide with horror, reflecting the light that would kill him next. Please. His voice was small, broken. We didn't choose this. We didn't ask to be born. Your existence is sin. The angel raised a blade that looked like solidified starlight. Your fathers fell. Your mothers were corrupted. You are the evidence of that fall, and evidence must be destroyed. The blade came down. I jerked awake, gasping, my shirt soaked with sweat that wasn't mine. The bond pulsed in my chest like a second heartbeat, frantic and afraid. Through it, I felt him, awake somewhere in the city, reliving the same memory, feeling my consciousness brush against his trauma. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Get out of my head. His voice was raw, wrecked. I pressed my hand against my chest, trying to calm my racing heart. His racing heart. The bond. I was asleep. I didn't mean to. I don't care what you meant. Background noise. Wind. He was outside, moving fast. Stay out of my memories. Then stop broadcasting them. My voice came out sharper than intended. You think I want to see that? Want to feel what you felt? Silence. Then, you saw it. All of it. I closed my eyes, but the images were burned there. The cathedral. The bodies. The angel who called you an abomination. A pause. You were just a kid. I was never a kid. His voice was hollow. Nephilim don't have childhoods. We have survival. And most of us don't even get that. The wind howled through the phone. That was the cleansing of Prague, 1843, 67 Nephilim, 12 under the age of 20, slaughtered because we dared to exist. 1843, over 180 years ago. The number made my head spin. How old are you? Does it matter? But through the bond, I felt the answer. 206. 2 centuries of being caught between heaven and hell, belonging to neither, wanted by none. You survived, I said. It like an accusation. The angel, the blade, you got out. My demonic half saved me. Bitterness bled through the words. Survival instinct kicked in. I killed the angel, burned him from the inside out. And that's when the red appeared in my eye. That's when I understood what I really was. Not an abomination trying to be good. Just an abomination. I felt it through the bond. The exact moment his childhood ended. The moment he stopped believing redemption was possible and started believing he was the monster they said he was. That's not, I started. Don't. He cut me off. Don't try to comfort me. Don't try to understand. You're my target. This bond is a mistake, and sentiment makes everything harder. For who? The question came out quiet. You or me? He hung up. But the bond didn't. It stayed open, a live wire between us, and I felt him moving through the city. Felt his confusion, his anger, his fear that the bond was making him weak, making him human. I didn't try to sleep. Again. Just lay there, feeling someone else's pain bleed into mine, until dawn turned my window gray. Work that night was a special kind of hell. Every customer's voice felt too loud. Every touch when I handed over drinks sent sparks across my skin. The bond was getting stronger. I could feel Zadkiel even when he wasn't close. Could sense his location like a compass pointing north. He was watching. Always watching. Rita came in at 8, ordered her usual vodka tonic, and studied my face with concern I didn't deserve. "You look worse than normal, hun." She pushed a 20 across the bar. "When's the last time you ate?" "Today." Lie. "Yesterday." Another lie. "I'm fine." Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's attention sharpen. He was listening. Always listening now. "You're not fine." Rita's eyes were kind. Too kind. "I know you think you don't deserve help. Whatever happened, whatever you're carrying, you don't have to carry it alone." The irony almost made me laugh. I was carrying it. Alone. With a 206-year-old Nephilim who wanted to torture me. Felt everything I felt. And was slowly realizing that breaking me might break him too. I appreciate it. I mixed her drink with hands that had stopped shaking months ago, but started again 3 nights ago when Zadkiel marked me. "But some things you have to carry alone." She opened her mouth to argue. The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Zadkiel walked into the bar like he owned it. Every supernatural instinct I'd been developing since the bond screamed danger. But he looked almost human tonight. Leather jacket, dark jeans, the veins on his face less pronounced. The war in his eyes momentarily settled into one color, a muddy gray that was neither silver nor red. He sat 3 stools away from Rita. Didn't look at me. Whiskey. Neat. My hands moved automatically, pouring the drink. When I set it in front of him, our fingers brushed. The bond flared. I felt his exhaustion. Felt the headache pounding behind. His eyes from staying awake 2 nights straight, trying to avoid his nightmares. Felt his hunger. When was the last time he ate? "You need food." The words came out before I could stop them. His eyes snapped to mine. Gray shifting to silver red, the war beginning again. "Excuse me? You haven't eaten in 4 days." I grabbed a menu, slapped it in front of him. "Order something." Rita glanced between us, sensing the tension but not understanding it. "Man's right, sweetheart. Can't drink on an empty stomach." Zadkiel's jaw clenched. Through the bond, I felt his fury, his confusion, his absolute bafflement that I was worrying about him, that I could feel his hunger through the connection, and instead of using it as a weapon, I was trying to feed him. "I don't need," he started. "Burger, fries, whatever." I turned to put the order in, not giving him a choice. "You're no use to your contract, dead from starvation." The bond crackled with his anger. But underneath it, something else. Something that felt almost like gratitude. He stayed for 2 hours. Ate the burger in silence while I worked. Rita chatted at him about her daughter in California. Marcus joined them, 3 drinks in, and mourning his wife out loud like he did every Thursday. Normal people. Normal conversations. And Zadkiel sitting among them like he wasn't a creature designed to destroy, listening to their mundane problems with an expression I couldn't read. Through the bond, I felt his disorientation. When was the last time he'd been around humans like this? Not as prey, not as targets, just as people existing in his space. At closing, after the last customer left and Jerry locked the front door, Zadkiel remained at the bar, watching me clean up with those warring eyes. "Why did you do that?" His voice was quiet. "Do what?" I wiped down the counter. "Feed me." The concern. You felt my hunger, and instead of exploiting it, you addressed it. He leaned forward. "Why?" I met his gaze. "Because the bond goes both ways. Your pain is my pain. Your hunger is my hunger. And I've spent 2 years punishing myself. I don't need to add starving to the list. That's not how this is supposed to work." But his voice held uncertainty. "You're supposed to fear me, hate me, fight me. I'm too tired to hate anyone except myself." I poured us both a drink, slid one toward him. "And fear? What's the point? You're in my head. You feel what I feel. You already know I'm not afraid of you." He stared at the glass, then picked it up, drank it. Through the bond, I felt the burn in his throat, felt the way alcohol dulled the edges of his pain, just like it dulled mine. Lilith is getting impatient. The words came out flat. She wants proof I'm making progress, wants to see you suffering. And? I leaned against the counter. Am I not suffering enough? His eyes met mine, both fully silver now, bright and piercing. You've been suffering for 949 days. Adding to it feels like piling dirt on a grave that's already 6 feet deep. Then what are you going to do? I don't know. The confession seemed to cost him. The contract says I have to break you, but you're already broken. It says I have to make you suffer, but the bond means I suffer with you. It says I have to destroy what's left of your sanity. He stood. But watching you show me basic human kindness when I'm supposed to be your tormentor is destroying mine instead. He moved to the door, stopped with his hand on the frame. I need to figure out how to complete this contract without losing what little humanity I have left. His voice was barely above a whisper. Because if I lose that, the demonic half wins. And if that happens, everyone in this bar dies. You included. Zadkiel. I didn't know why I said his name. Didn't know what I wanted to say. He looked back. The neon light from outside caught his face, highlighting the darkness spreading slowly but inevitably across his features. A living countdown to the moment he stopped being anything close to human. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate. That you're stuck with me. That the bond trapped you. That you have to feel everything I feel. For a long moment, he just stared. Then something shifted in his expression. Something that might have been the saddest smile I'd ever seen. I've been alone for 206 years. His voice was rough. And now, I'm connected to someone who understands what it means to be a monster in your own mind. He opened the door. Maybe we're both exactly where we deserve to be. He left. But through the bond, I felt him stop just outside. Felt him standing in the cold, struggling with something he couldn't name. Felt the moment he decided something that made his demonic half scream in fury and his angelic half whisper in fear. He was going to try to find a way to complete the contract without destroying us both. I didn't know if that was mercy or just a slower kind of torture. Lilith came on the 7th night. I felt her before I saw her. The bond screamed a warning, Zadkiel's terror flooding through me so suddenly I dropped the glass I was holding. It shattered against the floor, whiskey spreading like blood across the tile, and every hair on my body stood straight up. The temperature in the bar plummeted. Frost spread across the windows in patterns that looked like screaming faces. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied into a sickly yellow glow that made everyone's skin look jaundiced, corpse-like. She walked through the door without opening it. One moment the entrance was empty. The next she was there, and my brain couldn't process what my eyes were seeing. Beautiful didn't cover it. Beautiful was an insult. She looked like every painting of the divine feminine ever created, and simultaneously, like something that would eat your soul and pick its teeth with your bones. Dark hair that moved independent of any breeze. Eyes that were too large, too bright, filled with a love so fierce it had curdled into something poisonous. She wore a simple black dress that somehow looked both modern and ancient, and when she moved, shadows clung to her like worshippers. Every customer in the bar froze, not by choice. I could see them struggling, eyes wide with panic, mouths open in screams that wouldn't come. She'd paralyzed them with her presence alone. So, her voice was honey and arsenic. This is the woman who killed my daughter. I couldn't move. Either. Not because of her power, but because through the bond I felt Zadkiel materialize behind me. Felt his absolute terror. Felt the way his demonic half was screaming to run, while his angelic half was screaming to fight. Lilith. His voice was steady despite the fear bleeding through the bond. This isn't the agreement. You don't come here. I deliver reports. That's the contract. The contract. She laughed, and it sounded like wind chimes made of finger bones. The contract says you break her. Make her suffer. And yet, she moved closer, gliding across the floor, her eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my chest ache. She looks perfectly intact to me. Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's desperation, felt him calculating how many people would die if this went wrong. 23 bodies frozen in the bar. 23 innocents who didn't deserve to be collateral damage in a supernatural revenge plot. It's been 7 days, he said. These things take time. The psychological torture needs to build slowly, or what? Lilith was in front of me now, so close I could smell her. Lilies and rot, death and birth. Or she breaks too quickly and you lose your toy. Her hand shot out, faster than I could track, and her fingers wrapped around my throat. Let me expedite the process. Pain exploded through me. Not physical pain. Worse. She was in my head, ripping through my memories like someone tearing pages from a book, and every moment with Emma played in excruciating detail. Finding the warehouse, the darkness, the smell of mildew and fear. Emma's voice, small and terrified, calling out, "Someone help me, please, someone!" The kidnapper's yellow eyes flashing in the dark. The gun. The sound it made, impossibly loud. The way Emma's body jerked. The way she looked at me with confusion more than pain. Like she didn't understand why the nice lady who came to save her hadn't saved her at all. The blood. So much blood. Trying to hold her together while she seized. While power I didn't understand exploded from her small body. While she died crying for her mother who wasn't there. Stop! The word came out strangled. Please, stop. Stop. Lilith's grip tightened. Did you stop when my daughter begged for her mother? Did you stop when she died alone and terrified because you were too incompetent to save her? Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's anguish. Felt him being forced to experience Emma's death through my memory. Through Lilith's. Invasion, reliving it like he was there. Felt the exact moment his demonic half surged forward, ready to attack, ready to end this even if it meant breaking the contract and dying slowly over decades. Then something strange happened. The bond flared white-hot, and suddenly Lilith was experiencing it too. Not just my memory. Zadkiel's reaction to it. His horror at watching a child die. His rage at the kidnapper. His grudging acknowledgement that I'd tried. That I'd failed. But I'd tried. She released me, stumbled back. Her eyes went wide. What? She looked between us, and for the first time since she arrived, she seemed uncertain. The bond. It's not just a mark. It's complete. Her voice held something close to awe. You've merged. No. Zadkiel's denial was sharp. It's a standard claiming, nothing more. Don't lie to me, Nephilim. Lilith's eyes narrowed. I've seen thousands of bonds. Issued dozens myself. A standard claiming lets you sense emotions, general state of being. This? She gestured between us. This is something else. You're sharing memories, experiencing each other's pain in real time. You've created an empathy loop. The words landed heavy. Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's shock, his realization that she was right, that what happened between us wasn't normal, wasn't supposed to be possible. It changes nothing. His voice was hard. The contract stands. I will break her. Will you? Lilith moved closer to him now, studying his face with those two large eyes. Because from what I just felt, you're breaking right alongside her. Every moment of her guilt, you carry. Every nightmare she has, you live. Every time she wishes for death, you feel that emptiness as if it's your own. She tilted her head. Tell me, Zadkiel, when was the last time you slept through the night? He didn't answer. Didn't have to. Through the bond, I already knew. 4 days. 4 days since he'd managed more than an hour of sleep before my nightmares. or his dragged. Him awake. And you. Lilith turned back to me. Do you know what he is? What he's done? I've seen some of it. My voice was hoarse. My throat ached where she'd grabbed me. Through the bond. Have you seen the 17 Nephilim children he killed in Moscow? The purge he led in Beijing? The fact that he spent 2 centuries being heaven's executioner, slaughtering his own kind because the angels convinced him that was his path to redemption? Her smile was cruel. He's a murderer, just like you. The words should have shocked me, should have made me recoil. Instead, through the bond, I felt the truth of it, felt his self-loathing that matched mine, felt the weight of those 17 children, those faces he saw every time he closed his eyes, the way their blood had felt on his hands. I know. The admission felt like confession. I feel it, all of it. Then you understand. Lilith's voice softened, became almost gentle. Almost. You took my daughter. Accidentally, yes. Through incompetence rather than malice. But she's still dead. Still gone. Still never coming back. Her eyes glistened with tears that looked like mercury. And you expect me to just forgive that? To let you live while she rots in the ground? No. I met her gaze. I don't expect forgiveness. Don't want it. Don't deserve it. I gestured at the frozen customers, at Jerry still holding a bottle behind the bar, at Rita with her hand frozen halfway to her purse. But they do. They're innocent. Whatever. You do to me. Don't punish them. Something flickered across her face. Surprise. Then calculation. You care about them. She said it like a revelation. After 2 years of self-imposed isolation, of treating yourself like you're already dead, you still care about innocence. She looked at Zadkiel. And you. You care about her. That's why the bond completed. That's why it's breaking you. Because somewhere under the executioner and the monster, you still have enough humanity left to empathize with someone else's pain. I don't, Zadkiel started. Lie to yourself all you want. Lilith cut him off. But I felt it. When you experienced her memory of Emma's death, you didn't just observe. You grieved. For Emma. For this woman. For yourself. She moved to the door, shadows parting around her. That's why this is exquisite. You wanted a quick kill. A simple torture and execute contract. Instead, you're trapped in an empathy loop with someone who's already drowning. And you're drowning. With her. She paused at the threshold, looked back. I'll give you 30 days. Her voice was cold again. Absolute. 30 days to break her. To make her suffer enough that I feel my daughter has been avenged. If you fail, if you can't complete the contract because this bond has made you weak, then I start killing everyone she cares about. 1 per day, until there's no one left. Her eyes locked on mine. Starting with the old man behind the bar with the bad knee and worse jokes. Jerry. She meant Jerry. And you. She focused on me. You'll watch them die knowing it's your fault. Again. Just like Emma. Except this time, you'll have 30 separate failures to carry instead of just 1. She vanished. The temperature returned to normal. The frost on the windows melted in seconds, running down the glass like tears. And every customer in the bar unfroze, gasping, stumbling, with no memory of what just happened, but with a bone-deep unease that would keep them up tonight. Jerry looked at the broken glass on the floor. Nora, you all right? Fine. The lie tasted like ash, just clumsy. I felt Zadkiel behind me, his presence heavy with dread. Through the bond, his thoughts bled into mine. 30 days. 30 days to break someone already broken. 30 days before innocence started dying. 30 days to figure out how to complete an impossible contract while drowning in the very empathy that made him fail at being a proper monster. The customers settled back into their drinks, their conversations, their normal lives. unaware that they'd just been held hostage by a grieving mother with the power to unmake reality, unaware that their lives now depended on a burned-out bartender and a 206-year-old Nephilim figuring out how to destroy each other. I cleaned up the broken glass with shaking hands, felt Zadkiel's gaze on my back, felt his question through the bond before he spoke it. "What do we do?" I looked up, met his eyes. Silver and red at war. Always at war. But for once, both colors seemed to agree on one thing: terror. "I don't know." My voice was barely a whisper. "But we have 30 days to figure it out. 30 days before people start dying because I can't seem to break any more than I already am." Through the bond, I felt his determination solidify. Felt him make a decision that terrified both halves of his nature. He was going to try to break me for real, not the half-hearted attempts of the past week. Real psychological warfare. Real torture. Because 23 lives depended on it. Because the alternative was watching innocents die one by one. And I was going to let him. Because what was a little more suffering added to an ocean I was already drowning in? He came for me on the 9th night. Not to my apartment. Not to the bar. He was waiting in the warehouse where Emma died. I felt him through the bond the moment I turned onto the street. Felt his presence pulling me like gravity. And I understood. This was it. The real torture was beginning. He was going to make me face the place where everything ended. Where a little girl's blood had soaked into concrete that still smelled like rust and regret even after 2 years. My feet moved without permission. The bond wasn't forcing me. I was choosing this. Choosing to walk into my own destruction because the alternative was watching Jerry die. Watching Rita die. Watching 23 innocent people pay for my failure with their lives. The warehouse hadn't changed. Same broken windows. Same graffiti on the walls. Same door hanging off its hinges. I pushed through, and the smell hit me immediately. Mildew. Decay. And underneath it, so faint I might have imagined it, the copper tang of blood that had never fully washed away. Zadkiel stood in the center of the space, exactly where Emma had died. His eyes were fully red now, both of them, burning in the darkness like coals. The veins on his face had spread further, black threading across his cheekbone, down. His neck, disappearing under his collar. His demonic half was winning. "You came." His voice was different, rougher, like something was speaking through him rather than with him. "You knew I would." I stopped 10 feet away. "The bond. You pulled me here." "No." He shook his head. "I'm here. You felt me, but you chose to come. That's the difference." He moved closer, and the shadows moved with him, writhing across the floor like living things. "Do you know why I chose this place? To break me." My voice was steady. "To make me relive it. To show you the truth." He gestured around the warehouse. "This place is soaked in supernatural residue. Emma's death blast, her power. It's still here, imprinted on the walls, the floor, the air." His eyes locked on mine. "And because of the bond, because you absorbed some of her power, you can see it now. If you're willing to look. I don't want to see it." "I know." Something almost like sympathy crossed his face. "But you need to. Because what you think happened and what actually happened aren't the same thing. And if we're going to get through the next 21 days, if we're going to survive Lilith, you need to understand what you're really carrying." He raised his hand. Power rippled from his palm, red and black and silver all at once. And suddenly the warehouse was alive with light. Not real light. Memory light. Impressions of what had been, playing out like a film projected onto the darkness. I saw myself 2 years ago. Younger. Less hollow. Moving through the warehouse with my gun drawn, calling Emma's name. Saw the moment I found her, small and terrified, chained to a pipe in the corner. Saw myself rush forward. Then I saw what I couldn't have seen before. The kidnapper materializing from shadow, his human disguise flickering, revealing something underneath. Yellow eyes, skin that looked like it was melting, a mouth full of teeth that belonged in nightmares. Mid-level demon, Zadkiel's voice narrated. Possession type. He'd been wearing a human skin for 3 weeks. Emma's father hired him to take her, wanted leverage against Lilith. Didn't realize the child would be powerful enough to sense his true nature. I watched myself dive for Emma as the demon raised his gun. Watched the bullet leave the chamber. Watched myself get there half a second too late. But that wasn't what killed her. The memory slowed. Frame by frame, I saw Emma's eyes widen, saw her small body begin to glow, power building. Inside her like a star going supernova. She was trying to save herself, trying to use the demonic power she'd inherited from Lilith. But she was 7 years old, and terrified, and completely untrained. The power exploded outward, a blast wave of pure demonic energy that should have leveled 3 city blocks, should have killed hundreds. I watched myself throw my body over Emma's, watched the blast hit me instead, watched it pour into me like liquid fire because I was the only thing between her and the demon, between her uncontrolled power and the world. I absorbed it. All of it. The blast that would have been a massacre became contained in my body, and the backlash, the recoil, stopped Emma's heart. The memory faded. The warehouse went dark again. I was on my knees without remembering falling, tears streaming down my face, and through the bond I felt Zadkiel's presence. Not gloating, not triumphant, just there, witnessing. I killed her. My voice broke. Not the demon, not the bullet. Me. I absorbed the blast, and the backlash stopped her heart. You saved 347 people. His voice was quiet. The demon was in an apartment building. Emma's blast would have killed everyone inside. You contained it, absorbed it into yourself. And yes, the backlash killed her. But she was already dying. The bullet hit her lung. She had maybe 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. I looked up at him. 2 minutes I stole from her. 2 minutes versus 347 lives. He crouched in front of me, and his eyes had shifted back to silver red. The war resumed. You made a choice, instinctively, to protect the many at the cost of the one. That's not murder. That's sacrifice. Tell that to Lilith. Bitterness coated the words. Tell that to a mother who lost her daughter. I can't. His hand reached out, hesitated, then settled on my shoulder. The contact sent warmth through the bond, his attempt at comfort clashing with the cold reality. Because to her, context doesn't matter. Intent doesn't matter. Her child is dead and someone has to pay. And you were there. You were the last face Emma saw. So you become the target. I felt the truth of it settle in my bones. Felt the injustice of it. Felt the weight of 347 people who lived because I acted. Whose names I'd never know. Who would never know they'd been saved. And under all of it, felt something else. Something dangerous. Relief. I'm not a murderer. The words came out strangled. I didn't kill her on purpose. I tried to save her. I know. His other hand came up, cupping my face, forcing me to look at him. Through the bond, I know. I've felt every moment of your guilt. Every night you've replayed it. Every time you've wished you'd moved faster, been smarter, done something different. And now I've shown you the truth. You did everything right. And she died anyway. Because sometimes there are no good choices. Only impossible ones. The dam broke. 2 years of guilt, of self-hatred, of carrying a weight I thought I deserved, came pouring out in sobs that shook my entire body. I collapsed against him without meaning to, and his arms came around me, solid and warm, holding me while I shattered. Through the bond, I felt his own grief mixing with mine, felt him mourning Emma, mourning the 17 Nephilim children he'd killed, mourning every impossible choice that had led us both to this warehouse, to this moment, to being broken things clinging to each other in the dark. This doesn't change anything. His voice was rough against my hair. Lilith won't care about context, won't care that you saved hundreds. She only cares that her daughter is dead and you're alive. I know. I pulled back, wiped my face. So what now? You've shown me the truth. Doesn't that make the torture harder? Doesn't that make breaking me more difficult? His eyes met mine, and in them I saw the answer before he spoke it. Yes. The confession cost him. I thought showing you the truth would help, would give me ammunition. Look at all those people you saved and you're still drowning in guilt. Isn't that pathetic? He laughed, bitter and broken. But instead, I gave you absolution, and absolution is the opposite of torture. So you failed. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. 21 days left. What are you going to do? He stood, pulling me up with him. His hands stayed on my arms. Grip firm, but not painful. I'm going to try something different. His demonic eye flared brighter. I'm going to stop trying to break you with your past. Instead, I'm going to threaten your future. The people you care about, Jerry, Rita, Marcus, all 23 of them. His voice hardened. I'm going to make you feel what it's like to carry their potential deaths. To know that every day you survive, you bring them closer to execution. The words hit like fists. Through the bond, I felt his self-loathing. Felt how much he hated this plan. Felt his desperation because he was running out of options and time. That's not torture. My voice was hollow. That's just reality. I already carry that. Every second since Lilith's visit, I've felt it. Then I'll make it worse. He released me, stepped back. I'll describe how she'll kill them. Slowly, painfully. I'll make you watch in your mind. Through the bond. I'll force you to experience their deaths before they happen. You'll experience them too, I pointed out. The bond works both ways. I know. His hands clenched into fists. But I've lived 206 years. I've endured worse. I can survive it if it means completing the contract. Can you? The challenge hung between us. Through the bond, I felt his fear that the answer was yes. That I could survive it because I'd already survived 2 years of drowning. That he was going to have to escalate even further. That eventually, he'd have to become the monster. Both halves of his nature feared. I don't know. Honesty felt like the only thing I had left. But I know that if you do this, if you force me to watch them die in my mind, it won't just break me. It'll destroy you too. And maybe that's what we both deserve. His face twisted. Pain and rage and desperation all at once. Don't. Don't what? I moved closer. Don't tell you the truth. Don't point out that we're both drowning. That the bond means we either survive together or destroy each other. I was close enough to see the veins pulsing in his face. Close enough to feel the heat radiating from his demonic half. You want to break me? Then commit. Stop holding back. Stop trying to be merciful. Become the executioner heaven trained you to be. You don't know what you're asking. I do. My voice was steady. Because through the bond, I've seen it. I've felt it. I know exactly what you're capable of, and I'm telling you to do it. Break me. Destroy me. Save those 23 people. And, maybe if we're lucky, we'll both end up too broken to feel anything anymore. For a long moment, we stood there. 2 damaged people in a warehouse that smelled like death, connected by a bond neither of us wanted, carrying weight that should have killed us years ago. Then he did something I didn't expect. He pulled me against him, fast and hard, and pressed his forehead to mine. The bond flared so bright it hurt, and suddenly I was feeling everything he felt. His terror, his grief, his absolute certainty that the next 21 days were going to destroy whatever humanity either of us had left. I'm sorry, he whispered it against my skin, for what I'm about to do. For what we're going to become. Me too. I closed my eyes. Me too. The psychological warfare started on the 11th day. I woke to find him sitting in the chair beside my bed, eyes fully red in the darkness, watching me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Not because of threat, because through the bond, I felt his resolve. Cold, absolute. He'd made a decision during the night, and whatever humanity had been tempering his actions was gone. Jerry dies first. His voice was flat, empty. 14 days from now, if Lilith doesn't see progress, I'm going to show you exactly how. Before I could respond, his hand shot out and pressed against my temple. The bond exploded open, wider than it had ever been, and suddenly I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was in the bar, empty, dark. Jerry was closing up, humming off key like he always did, counting the register with arthritic fingers that shook slightly. Then the shadows moved. Lilith materialized behind him, beautiful and terrible, and Jerry didn't even have time to turn around before her hand pierced through his back and emerged from his chest, holding his still beating heart. The vision was so vivid I could smell the copper tang of blood, could hear Jerry's confused gasp, the wet sound of his body hitting the floor, could see the light fade. From his eyes while he reached toward a photo of his grandkids, he kept behind the register, fingers falling inches short. I jerked back, gasping, my own heart hammering so hard I thought it would break through my ribs. Zadkiel's hand remained on my temple, keeping the bond forced open, and the vision continued. Rita next, in her apartment. Lilith's shadows wrapping around her throat, lifting her off the ground while she clawed at nothing, feet kicking, face turning purple. It took 3 minutes, and 42 seconds for her to stop moving. I felt every second. Then Marcus. Then the college kid who always ordered craft beer. Then the woman who came in on Tuesdays and never spoke to anyone. One by one, Zadkiel forced me to watch phantom deaths of every person in that bar. And through the bond, I felt his agony mixing with mine because he was experiencing it too, watching himself describe murders in excruciating detail, feeling my horror as if it were his own. When he finally released me, I rolled off the bed and vomited into the trash can. My whole body shook. Tears streamed down my face, and through the bond, I felt him sitting there, motionless, drowning in the same nausea, the same horror, the same self-loathing. That's day 1. His voice was hoarse. For the next 13 days, I'm going to show you variations, different methods, different orders, until you can't close your eyes without seeing their deaths, until their faces replace Emma's in your nightmares, until the weight of their potential murders crushes whatever's left of your sanity. This is killing you too. I didn't look at him, couldn't. I feel it. You're drowning. I know. Something cracked in his voice. But 23 real deaths versus 2 people's sanity? The math is simple. He left. I sat on my bathroom floor until dawn, feeling him through the bond, knowing he was sitting somewhere in the city doing the same thing. 2 broken people destroying each other one vision at a time, and neither of us strong enough to stop. Work that night was torture. Every time I looked at Jerry, I saw Lilith's hand through his chest. Every time Rita smiled at me, I heard the sound of her choking. The bond thrummed constantly, Zadkiel's presence heavy in my mind, and I knew he was watching through my eyes, feeling my guilt compound with every interaction. On the 12th day, he showed me the aftermath, what the bar would look like with 23 bodies, blood on every surface, the smell of death so thick it would never wash out. Police finding the scene, news coverage, families destroyed, and through it all, my face on every screen, labeled as the survivor who'd somehow escaped a mass murder, the questions that would follow me forever. On the 13th day, he made it worse. Showed me Rita's daughter in California getting the call, Jerry's grandkids at his funeral, Marcus's sister finding his body. Every ripple effect. Every life destroyed by association. Hundreds of people. Suffering because I couldn't break properly. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. The visions bled into my waking hours until I couldn't tell what was real and what was Zadkiel's torture. I'd be pouring a drink and suddenly see blood instead of whiskey. Would look at a customer and see their corpse. My hands shook constantly. My voice came out hollow when I spoke. And through the bond, I felt him fracturing too. Felt his demonic half feeding on the suffering, growing stronger. Felt his angelic, half screaming in horror at what he was doing. Felt the war between them intensifying until I didn't know which side was winning, only that both were tearing him apart. On the 15th day, something shifted. I was behind the bar, going through motions that felt mechanical, when Zadkiel walked in. Not unusual anymore. He'd been coming every night, sitting in the same spot, watching me with those red eyes, and everyone had started to accept him as a regular. Strange, quiet, but harmless. Except, tonight he wasn't alone. A woman followed him. Young, maybe 19. Dark hair. Familiar eyes that took me a moment to place. Then the bond showed me what Zadkiel was seeing, and I understood. Emma's half-sister. Another of Lilith's children. Fully demon this time. No human half to dilute the power. Her name is Seraphine. Zadkiel's voice carried across the bar. Lilith sent her to evaluate my progress. The girl, Seraphine, studied me with eyes too old for her face. When she spoke, her voice resonated with power that made the glasses behind the bar rattle. "You're the one who killed my sister." Not a question, a statement. "Mother says you're supposed to be broken by now. You don't look broken." Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's panic. This was a test. If Seraphine reported that he was failing, Lilith would start the executions early. Would kill Jerry tomorrow instead of in 5 days. Would massacre everyone in the bar right now just to prove a point. "I'm broken." My voice came out steady despite the terror flooding through the bond from Zadkiel. "I've been broken for years. Your mother just wants me shattered beyond repair." Seraphine moved closer, and the temperature dropped. She circled me like a predator, inhaling deeply, and when she spoke again, her voice held confusion. "You smell like him." She gestured at Zadkiel. "The bond. It's not just a mark. You're entangled." Her eyes narrowed. "Mother didn't mention that. Didn't mention you'd be suffering together. It's more effective this way." Zadkiel's voice was cold, controlled. But through the bond, I felt his desperation. She feels my torture of her. I feel her breaking. It's a feedback loop. "Is it?" Seraphine's hand shot out, grabbed my wrist. Power surged through the contact, and suddenly she was in my head, ripping through my thoughts like her mother had. But unlike Lilith, she wasn't looking for Emma's death. She was looking for something else. She found it. Found the moment in the warehouse, when Zadkiel had shown me the truth. Found the absolution I'd felt. Found the way we'd held each other. Two broken things seeking comfort in shared pain. Found every moment over the past 15 days where the torture had brought us closer instead of tearing us apart. She released me, stepped back. Her expression was unreadable. "You care about her." She said it to Zadkiel. "Not as a target, as a person. The bond has made you weak. The bond has made me effective." His eyes flared. Every vision I show her, I experience. Every nightmare, I live. The torture is doubled because we're connected. That's not weakness. That's efficiency. Then prove it. Seraphine's voice turned hard. "Mother wants visible suffering. Wants to see her broken. You have 5 days until the first execution. Show me you can deliver." The challenge hung in the air. Every customer in the bar had gone quiet, sensing the tension without understanding it. Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's mind racing, calculating, desperate. Then he stood, walked behind the bar. grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the back room. Seraphine followed, her presence making the air feel thick and hard to breathe. The door closed behind us. Storage room, boxes of liquor, mop bucket, dim light, and 3 beings caught in an impossible situation. "What do you want?" I asked Seraphine. "You want to see me suffer? Watch." I turned to Zadkiel, grabbed his face with both hands, forced the bond open as wide as it would go, and channeled every moment of the past 15 days into it. Every vision, every nightmare, every death I'd watched in excruciating detail, every moment of guilt and horror and self-loathing, and underneath it all, something else, something I'd been trying to ignore. The way his presence had become familiar, the way drowning together felt less lonely than drowning alone, the way his suffering mixing with mine had created something that wasn't quite comfort, but wasn't quite torture either. Through the bond, I felt his shock, felt him experiencing my thoughts, my emotions, the complicated tangle of gratitude and resentment, and something that might have been affection if we weren't predator and prey, executioner and victim. Seraphine watched with an expression that shifted from confusion to understanding to something that looked almost like pity. "Oh," her voice was soft. "You've both already broken. Just not in the way Mother expected." She moved to the door. "This is worse than, failure. This is perversion of the contract. When Mother finds out, she won't just kill the people in the bar. She'll make you watch each other's destruction first." She left. The door clicked shut, and Zadkiel and I stood there, my hands still on his face, the bond still wide open, both of us feeling the truth we'd been avoiding. The torture had worked, just not the way it was supposed to. Instead of breaking us apart, it had fused us together. 2 people who understood suffering so intimately that sharing it had become its own kind of dependency. "What do we do?" My voice was barely a whisper. His hands came up, covered mine. His eyes had shifted back to silver red, the war visible again. "I don't know. But we have 5 days to figure out how to survive Lilith finding out that I've failed. That I've done worse than fail. That I've..." He didn't finish. Didn't have to. Through the bond, I felt the word he couldn't say. Connected. Attached. Bound to me in a way that went beyond the mark. Beyond the contract, into territory that terrified both of us. "She's going to kill them all." The reality settled like lead in my stomach. Jerry, Rita, everyone, because I couldn't break right, because we couldn't. "No." His voice was hard, determined. "I won't let that happen." "How?" I pulled back, broke contact. The bond dimmed but didn't close. "You can't fight Lilith. You can't break the contract. What's left?" His eyes met mine, and in them I saw something that made my breath catch. Not surrender. Strategy. Dangerous, impossible strategy. "There's one option." His voice was steady despite the terror bleeding through the bond. "One way to satisfy the contract, save those 23 people and prevent Lilith from destroying us both." "What?" He took a breath, released it. "I complete the bond, make it permanent, fully merge our souls. Then I transfer the contract to myself. I become both executioner and victim, and I end it the only way possible." Through the bond, I felt his intention, felt the plan forming, felt what he was really saying. He was going to kill himself, take me with him. A murder-suicide that would satisfy the contract, protect the innocents, and end both our suffering in one final act. And the worst part? Through the bond, I felt my own reaction. Relief. No. The word came out of me like a bullet. Absolutely not. Zadkiel stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Through the bond, I felt his confusion mixing with mine, creating a feedback loop of disbelief. You felt your own relief. His voice was carefully controlled. Through the bond, you want this. You've wanted to die for 955 days. I'm offering you an exit that saves everyone. Why are you refusing? because it's not just my death anymore. I moved away from him, needing space even though the bond meant there was no real distance between us. It's yours too, and you don't deserve to die for my mistakes. I've killed 17 Nephilim children. His voice was hard. I've spent 2 centuries being heaven's executioner. I've destroyed more lives than you can imagine. If anyone deserves death, it's me. Those children. I turned back to face him. I saw that memory. Through the bond. You were following orders. You believed you were purging corrupted ones to save the pure ones. You were lied to, manipulated. That doesn't absolve me. His hands clenched into fists. I still did it. Still watched them die. Still carry their faces every time I close my eyes. And you think death is going to erase that? I moved closer. You think ending your existence is going to give them justice? It's just running away. Just like me drinking myself numb every night was running away. Then what's your solution? His eyes flared, red, consuming silver. 5 days. 5 days until Jerry dies. Until Rita dies. Until 23 people get slaughtered because I couldn't break you and you couldn't break right. Give me an alternative that doesn't end with mass murder. I opened my mouth, closed it, because he was right. We were trapped. The contract demanded my suffering. Lilith demanded visible breaking. Seraphine had reported back by now, and we had maybe hours before Lilith came for answers. Then something occurred to me. Something dangerous, and possibly insane, but maybe, just maybe, possible. What if I wasn't the one who needed to break? The words came out slowly, carefully. What if you were? What? He stepped back. The contract specifies you, your suffering, your death. The contract specifies that Lilith's daughter's death must be avenged, that the person responsible must suffer. I moved closer, following him. But I'm not responsible. Not really. The demon kidnapper is. Emma's father who hired him is. The supernatural world that forced a 7-year-old child to hide her nature is. Semantics won't. Listen. I grabbed his arm. The bond flared at the contact. You showed me the truth in that warehouse. Emma's death was complicated, tragic, but not murder. Lilith knows that. Deep down, she knows her daughter died because of a chain of events, not one person's malice. Knowing and accepting are different things, but his voice held uncertainty. Through the bond, I felt his mind turning over the possibility. What if we gave her something else? I pressed. What if instead of my breaking, we offered her yours? Your genuine remorse for failing to protect a child. Your willingness to carry Emma's memory. The way you carry those 17 Nephilim. Your commitment to preventing future deaths instead of just avenging past ones. You want me to negotiate with her. He said it flatly. To walk into her domain and argue that the contract should change. That my breaking is equivalent to yours. I want us to give her a choice. I pulled him closer, keeping contact, keeping the bond open so he could feel my certainty. Right now, she has revenge, cold, empty. It won't bring Emma back. But if you offered to dedicate the next 200 years to protecting hybrid children, to preventing what happened to Emma from happening to others, maybe that would mean more. That's insane. But through the bond, I felt hope flickering. Tiny, fragile, but there. Is it more insane than double suicide? I challenged. Is it more insane than letting 23 people die? At least this way we're offering something constructive. Something that honors Emma instead of just adding more bodies to her memory. He pulled away from me, paced the small storage room like a caged animal. His eyes shifted rapidly, silver red, the war inside him visible and violent. Even if she agreed, even if she accepted that bargain, the bond. He turned back to me. We're entangled, connected. If I dedicate my existence to protecting children, you're bound to that mission too. You'd be tied to me for however long I live. Potentially centuries. I know. The weight of it settled on my shoulders. But is that worse than what I'm doing now? Existing without living? At least this way. The suffering has purpose. Through the bond, I felt his shock. Felt him realizing that I was volunteering for this. Not because I wanted to die, but because for the first time in 955 days, I could see a path forward that wasn't just drowning. You'd be bound to a Nephilim. His voice was quiet. To a creature that's half demon, that has killed children, that will eventually lose the war. With his demonic half and become a monster. You'd watch that happen. Feel it through the bond. Experience my descent. And you'd be bound to a human, I countered. Someone fragile, mortal, who will age and die while you stay the same. You'd watch me deteriorate, feel my body failing through the bond, experience my death from the inside. That's not the same. It's exactly the same. I moved closer again. We're both trapped, both broken, both carrying weight that's crushing us. The only question is whether we let it destroy us and everyone around us, or whether we try to make it mean something. Silence stretched between us. Outside the storage room, I heard the bar continuing. Jerry's laugh. Rita ordering another drink. Normal sounds from normal people whose lives hung in the balance, while we decided their fate in a room that smelled like bleach and desperation. Lilith will never agree, Zadkiel finally said. She wants blood, wants visible suffering, wants to see you. Destroyed because that's the only language grief knows. Then we make her see me destroyed. I met his eyes. The bond. You've been using it to torture me with visions. Use it to show her what I've experienced. The guilt. The nightmares. The 2 years of drowning. Show her that I'm already destroyed, just not in the way she demanded. And show her that adding my corpse to Emma's won't bring her daughter back, but maybe preventing future deaths will honor her memory. His jaw clenched. And if she refuses? If she demands I complete the contract as written? Then we have one day to say goodbye to everyone we care about. My voice was steady. And we face whatever comes next together. Because the bond means we don't get to die alone anymore anyway. The truth of it hung between us. We were stuck. Merged. 2 souls tangled so completely that separation wasn't possible anymore. The only choice was how we used that connection. To destroy or to create. To add more suffering to the world or to try to prevent some. I need to prepare. He moved to the door. If we're going to petition Lilith, I need to gather evidence. Testimonies from other Nephilim who've lost children to the celestial infernal war. Documentation of how many hybrid children die every year because there's no protection. Proof that Emma's death is part of a larger genocide that's been happening for millennia. How long will that take? 3 days. He looked back. Maybe 4. Which means we're cutting it close. If Jerry's execution is scheduled for day 20, we need to present our case by day 19 at the latest. Can you gather enough evidence in that time? Through the bond, I felt his determination. I've spent 206 years in this world. I know where the bodies are buried. Literally. His eyes met mine. But I need you to do something too. What? Survive. His voice was rough. The visions I've been showing you. The torture. I'm going to stop, starting now. Because if we're going to convince Lilith that you're already broken, I need you functional enough to stand before her. And that means no more psychological warfare. Relief flooded through me. Then suspicion. Why would you stop now? Why not continue until the last possible moment? Because. He opened the door, paused. Because Seraphine was right. I care about you, not as a target, as a person. And continuing to destroy someone I care about when there might be another option is cruelty I can't justify. Anymore. He left before I could respond. The bond hummed between us, carrying his emotions. determination, fear, and underneath it all, something that felt dangerously close to protectiveness. I went back to the bar, poured drinks, made small talk, watched Jerry laugh at his own jokes, and Rita tip too generously, and Marcus stare into his whiskey like it held answers. 19 days until their potential execution. 3 days until Zadkiel finished gathering evidence. 4 days to convince an ancient demon that revenge could take a different form. The odds were terrible. The plan was insane. And through the bond, I felt Zadkiel thinking the exact same thing from wherever he was in the city, collecting testimonies from Nephilim who'd been hiding in shadows for centuries, building a case that mercy could be stronger than vengeance. On the 16th day, the vision stopped. I slept through the night for the first time in a week and woke without seeing phantom corpses. The relief was so profound, I cried. On the 17th day, Zadkiel sent information through the bond, not visions, facts, numbers. 237 hybrid children killed in the last decade alone. 43 Nephilim executed by celestial forces for trying to protect their offspring. A genocide happening in slow motion while heaven and hell played their eternal war, and the children caught between paid the price. On the 18th day, I felt him falter, felt his exhaustion catching up, felt the war inside him intensifying, because using his celestial powers to gather evidence alerted the angels, and using his demonic powers to access hell's records corrupted him further. He was tearing himself apart to build this case, and through the bond, I carried some of that weight, felt some of that pain. That night he came to the bar, sat in his usual spot, but this time when I set down his whiskey, he grabbed my hand. "It's done." His voice was rough, exhausted. "I have everything we need. Testimonies, documentation, evidence that Emma's death is part of a pattern. Tomorrow we go to Lilith. Tomorrow's day 19. My voice was steady despite the terror flooding through the bond. One day before Jerry dies. I know. His grip tightened. If this doesn't work, if she refuses, we'll have hours to decide what to do. But Nora, his eyes met mine, and both colors were present, silver and red in perfect balance for once. Thank you. For what? For giving me a reason to try. His thumb brushed across my knuckles. For 206 years, I've existed, survived, killed when ordered, died slowly inside. You're the first person who made me want to fight for something instead of just against something. Through the bond, I felt the depth of that confession, felt how much it cost him, felt the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, we could turn this tragedy into something that mattered. Don't thank me yet. I pulled my hand back gently. We still have to survive the meeting. Still have to convince a grieving mother that her daughter's death can fuel prevention instead of revenge. We will. He stood. Because the alternative is unacceptable. And I've spent too long accepting unacceptable outcomes. He left. And through the bond, I felt him preparing. Steeling himself for the confrontation. Organizing arguments. Anticipating objections. Fighting for a future neither of us had believed possible a week ago. 19 days since Lilith's ultimatum. 1 day. Until execution. And 2 broken people about to bet everything on the hope that love for the dead could transform into protection for the living. Lilith's domain existed in the space between heartbeats. Zadkiel led me there on the 19th day. His hand gripping mine so tightly I lost circulation. The bond thrumming with his terror and determination in equal measure. One moment we were standing outside the bar at dawn. The next we were somewhere else. Somewhere that shouldn't exist. A garden. Impossibly beautiful. Flowers that bloomed in colors that didn't have names. Trees with silver leaves that chimed like bells in a wind I couldn't feel. And in the center, a marble fountain where water ran upward instead of down, defying gravity, reaching toward a sky that looked like twilight frozen in amber. Lilith sat on the fountain's edge. She wore white this time, a dress that looked like it was woven from moonlight, and her face was the face of every grieving mother who'd ever existed. Beautiful and terrible and so full of pain it made my chest ache. Seraphine stood behind her, arms crossed, her young face set in an expression that promised violence if this went wrong. "You asked for an audience." Lilith's voice was soft, dangerous. "You have 5 minutes to explain why I shouldn't start killing everyone in that bar right now. Why I shouldn't make you watch Zadkiel while I rip their hearts out one by one. Why I shouldn't make her," she gestured at me, "feel every moment of their deaths through whatever perverted bond you've created." Zadkiel's grip on my hand tightened. Through the bond, I felt him center himself, felt both halves of his nature align for the first time since I'd known him. Angel and demon working together instead of at war. Because Emma deserves better than revenge. His voice was steady. She deserves to be remembered as more than the child whose death spawned a massacre. Lilith's eyes flashed. "You dare." "I dare because I understand." He released my hand, stepped forward. 206 years ago, I watched my community slaughtered. 67 Nephilim, 12 of them children. I was one of the few who survived, and I spent the next 2 centuries believing that survival meant becoming the weapon they said I was. Killing my own kind. Executing corrupted Nephilim to prove I was one of the pure ones. 17 children died by my hand because I was too broken to see I was perpetuating the cycle. He pulled something from his jacket, a folder thick with papers, set it on the fountain's edge. "That's documentation of 237 hybrid children killed in the last 10 years alone. 43 Nephilim executed trying to protect their offspring. Testimonies from survivors. Evidence of a genocide that's been happening for millennia while heaven and hell fight their war, and beings like Emma get caught in the crossfire." Lilith stared at the folder like it was a viper. Didn't touch it. "What does this have to do with her death?" She pointed at me. "With the woman who let my daughter die?" "Everything." I stepped forward before Zadkiel could stop me. "Because I'm not unique. I'm not the first person to fail to save a hybrid child, and I won't be the last. Emma died because she was caught between worlds. Because she had power she couldn't control. A father who betrayed her, and a kidnapper who saw her as leverage. I was just the last domino in a chain of failures. You were the one there." Lilith's voice cracked. "You were supposed to save her. She called your name. She trusted you. And you failed." "I did." The admission burned. "I failed her. And I've carried that for 956 days. Every moment, every breath. I've wanted to die for it. Wished I'd died instead of her. And if my death would bring her back, I'd give it without hesitation." I moved closer, into her space, into the zone where she could kill me with a thought. But it won't. My death won't undo what happened. Won't give you your daughter back. It'll just add another body to the count and change nothing. Then what? Her voice was barely a whisper. "What do you expect me to do? Forgive you? Move on? Pretend my child's death doesn't matter? Make it matter." Zadkiel's voice cut through. "Emma's death can be the spark that changes things. We can use this, use us, to create something that prevents future deaths. A sanctuary for hybrid children, protection for Nephilim families. A place where beings caught between heaven and hell don't have to hide, don't have to die because they were born to the wrong parents." Seraphine laughed, bitter and harsh. "You think you can change millennia of celestial law with good intentions? Heaven wants us dead. Hell wants us enslaved. One sanctuary won't. One sanctuary becomes 2. I interrupted. 2 becomes 10. 10 becomes a movement. Change starts small, with one life saved, one child protected. I looked at Lilith. Emma can be the reason. Hundreds of children like her survive. Her name can mean something beyond tragedy, but only if you let it. Lilith stood. The garden trembled. Flowers wilted and bloomed simultaneously. The fountain's water turned to blood, then back to crystal, and I felt power radiating from her that made my bones ache. She was ancient, unfathomably powerful, and absolutely capable of destroying us all. She picked up the folder, opened it, started reading. Silence stretched. I felt Zadkiel's tension through the eye. Bond felt his certainty that this was the moment. Success or annihilation decided in the next few heartbeats. 237 children. Lilith's voice was hollow. In 10 years. That we know of, Zadkiel said quietly. The actual number is likely triple that. Most deaths go unreported. Most families hide their grief to avoid celestial or infernal retaliation. And you think you can stop this? She looked up. 2 broken people. One Nephilim who's killed his own kind, and one human who couldn't save a single child. You think you can prevent a genocide? No, I admitted. We can't stop it, but we can slow it, can save some, can create spaces where hybrid children learn to control their power before it kills them, where parents don't have to choose between their child's safety and their own survival. And in return, Lilith's eyes narrowed. What do you want? Absolution? Freedom from the contract? The bond stays, Zadkiel said. Nora and I are connected permanently. Now, she'll be bound to this mission for as long as she lives. I'll be bound to it for centuries. We're offering our existences, our suffering, our dedication, in exchange for 23 lives that don't deserve to die for my failure to break her properly. Your failure, Lilith repeated. Or your success. She moved closer to Zadkiel, studied his face. The bond between you isn't just connection. It's fusion. You've merged enough that destroying her would destroy you. You've developed enough humanity that executing innocence would shatter what's left of your angelic half. And your demonic half, she inhaled deeply, is learning compassion through her. You're becoming something new, something that doesn't fit celestial or infernal categories. Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's shock, felt him realizing she was right. The past 19 days hadn't just connected us, they'd changed us. He was less monster, more person. I was less corpse, more alive. We'd been breaking each other, but in the breaking, we'd also been rebuilding. Emma would have become something like that. Lilith's voice cracked. If she'd lived, if she'd learned to balance both halves, if she'd had time to grow into her power instead of dying afraid and alone. Tears slid down her face, mercury against porcelain. She wanted to help animals. Did you know that? She used to bring home injured birds, try to heal them with power she didn't understand. Killed 3 sparrows before she figured out how to gentle. Her touch. I didn't know. My voice was thick. I wish I had. Wish I'd known her as more than the girl I failed to save. She was so much more. Lilith's composure shattered. She collapsed back onto the fountain, shoulders shaking. She was funny, stubborn. She hated vegetables but loved strawberry ice cream. She played piano terribly, but with so much joy it didn't matter. She was my everything. And she's gone. And nothing will ever fill that void. I moved to her. Slowly. Carefully. Sat beside her on the fountain's edge. Through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's alarm. His certainty that this was where I died. But I couldn't stop. You're right, I said quietly. Nothing will fill it. Nothing I do. Nothing anyone does will bring her back or make the pain stop. Grief doesn't work that way. I know because I've been drowning in it for 956 days, and it hasn't gotten smaller, just more familiar. I paused. But maybe it doesn't have to be meaningless. Maybe her death can plant something that grows, not a replacement. Never that. Just something that honors who she was. Lilith looked at me. Really looked. And in her eyes, I saw my own pain reflected back. 2 people who'd lost someone irreplaceable, carrying weight that should have killed us, somehow still breathing. If I agree to this, her voice was raw. If I let you build this sanctuary, dedicate your lives to preventing future deaths, what happens when you fail? When another child dies despite your efforts? When the celestial forces come to destroy what you've built? We keep trying, Zadkiel said. We fail. We grieve. We get up and try again. Because the alternative is accepting that hybrid children are disposable, that beings like me deserve extinction, that Emma's life meant nothing. Her life meant everything. Lilith stood. Power radiated from her, but different now. Not destructive. Decisive. Fine. You have your chance. Build your sanctuary. Save who you can. But no. The contract transforms. It doesn't end. You're bound to this mission until one of you dies. If you abandon it, if you fail through negligence or cowardice, I will know. And I will complete the original contract. 23 deaths. Slow and painful. Starting with the old man with the bad jokes. Understood. I stood too. We won't fail. Everyone fails eventually. Seraphine's voice was cold. The question is whether you fail honorably or pathetically. Then we'll try to fail. Honorably. Zadkiel extended his hand to Lilith. You have my word. Both halves of my nature agree. This mission is worth whatever it costs. Lilith stared at his hand, then took it. Power flared, blinding and absolute, and through the bond I felt the contract shift. Felt the weight of it transfer from my breaking to our building. Felt the obligation settle into my bones like a second skeleton. When the light faded, the garden was gone. We stood outside the bar again. Dawn breaking properly now. Painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. Day 19. Hours before Jerry's scheduled execution. And we'd bought him life. Bought all 23 of them life. The cost was everything we had left. What now? My voice was hoarse. Zadkiel looked at me. His eyes were balanced, silver and red in perfect equilibrium. Now we keep our promise. We find a location for the sanctuary. We reach out to Nephilim communities. We start building something that matters. He paused. Together. Through the bond, I felt his certainty, his fear, his determination, and underneath it all, something that might have been hope. I've never built anything, I admitted. Only destroyed. Only failed. Neither have I. His hand found mine. But maybe that's the point. Maybe beings who understand destruction are the ones who most appreciate creation. We stood there as the sun rose, two broken people bound by tragedy, carrying the weight of one child's death and the hope that her memory could save hundreds. More. The bar would open in 3 hours. Jerry would make his terrible jokes. Rita would tip too generously. Marcus would mourn his wife. And they would never know how close they'd come to being corpses in a supernatural revenge plot. 956 days since Emma died. 19 days since Zadkiel marked me. And now, an uncertain number of days stretching ahead, filled with the impossible task of turning grief into protection, failure into purpose, and 2 drowning people into something resembling whole. It wouldn't be easy. It might not even be possible. But through the bond, I felt Zadkiel's conviction matching mine. We were going to try anyway, because Emma deserved better than revenge. And maybe, just maybe, so did we. Sometimes the weight we carry isn't meant to destroy us. It's meant to transform us. Nora and Zadkiel's story asks us the hardest question. What do we do with guilt that feels unforgivable? Do we let it consume us until we're nothing but walking corpses? Or do we find a way to turn that pain into something that matters? They were both executioners in their own way. Her killing herself slowly with guilt. Him killing others to prove he deserved to exist. But when their suffering merged, when they were forced to feel each other's pain, they discovered something unexpected. That sometimes the person who understands your darkness best is the one who lives in their own. That redemption isn't about erasing what we've done. It's about what we choose to do with the time we have left. If you were Nora, could you forgive yourself for a failure that cost an innocent life? If you were Zadkiel, could you choose compassion after 2 centuries of being trained as a weapon? And if you were bound to someone through shared pain, would you let it drag you both under? Or would you use that connection to pull each other towards something resembling light? These aren't easy questions, but the best stories never give us easy answers. They give us mirrors to see ourselves more clearly. If this story made you feel something, if it made you think about the weight you carry and what you're doing with it, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that don't just entertain, but challenge you to see the world and yourself differently. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is witness each other's pain and say, "You're not alone in this." Let's keep telling these stories together.